I think she's just making stuff up now. You can't make it any thicker. Trust me, love, it's supposed to be thicker. Not like fucking paint.
Water. It's easy. Well, sorry, you can't make it thinner. It's difficult to get the ratios right.
Oh, she got it wrong. She said you can't make it thinner. You can't get it much thinner than fucking paint, can you? Chuffing hell. It's like, I mean, on back at instructions on bag, I'll bet £1,000 that it doesn't say you need to make you need to mix this up so it's like paint. I'll guarantee £1,000 that it doesn't say that.
Right, and you don't want to end up making far too much slurry, and then you've got to actually scrape it all out because it dries like cement. So if you're using an old bucket, that bucket's going to get really heavy after a couple of times of you making too much of the slurry. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that they hadn't brushed it down first, but they've definitely not brushed it down. But they might have brushed it down and then not swept shit up, because it's all there. It's all there, all dust on black bin bags. So yeah.
Yeah, great little tip for getting the hardness stuff.
She's had her hair straightened and all. So I'm quite observant. So obviously she's got straight hair there, and she's got curly hair there with just like her extensions in.
Off the bucket, let it dry, flick the bucket upside down, and bang the edges or the base in.
I'll give you a tip. Just try cleaning bucket out anyway. Use all the stuff up that's in bucket, and then wash it out properly. Don't get into scruffy tradesman habits and just banging your bucket out, because what happens then is when you go to mix next lot up, you get all bits in it, and that just don't work. So you know, we're talking about waterproofing here. It's a specialist trade, and these are specialist systems. And if you've got bits in him, it might make system fail. It would if it were in a basement and there were earth retaining walls. I get that this is just a lateral damp, but you know, start as you mean to go on. This is what you need to do.
And you'll find it just drops off.
Yeah, I did end up doing that actually. Isn't this not a bit of a messy job again? Make sure you do it in the garden, and don't wear any clothes you care about.
Let's have a look here. So this is in room. You've got a timber floor, and they're knocking it off right up top. Just no need for that. Dry as old. Now I'd like to know whether they're putting slurry on here as well, and that looks really thin as well. So I'd love to know what system they used on there.
Care about if you're going to be using tanking slurry, because that stuff stays.
Well, I was going to say, we've got some great pictures of you applying it there, Kate, especially in your orange, what do we call it, V Festival shades.
So, I mean, I think by the end, I did 3 coats of slurry, so you want to always do at least 2. I know that I'm going to be having this property for a really long time. I'm not intending to sell it. It will be an investment, and I don't want to be having calls from tenants saying that they've got damp issues in the future. I want to do the job properly and do it once. So.
Hiya, it's DampSam here. I've just come on just to tell you that DampSam.com is now up and running. We've got the Express damp proofing system course, designed by me, run by me, done by me. You can buy that. We've got the ultimate guide to black mould and condensation. You can pay what you want for it. And we've also got 3 free ebooks. And also we've got a guide to basement conversions, the ultimate guide to damp proofing, and also the podcasting series. You can get in contact with them, and the YouTube membership. Enjoy it, rest of your film. So, but this is an issue that we get in our industry. We a lot of people that are doing these jobs. So you get a lot that they'll use a waterproofing system above ground, even if it's not lateral damp, if it's not raised ground levels, they use waterproof systems because they don't trust their own knowledge, and they don't know how moisture affects walls. They've not gone on courses and learnt. And there's courses out there, you know, PCA do a 2-day technician's course that'll take you through everything, so you can sign up to that. And there's some manufacturers courses that you can go on, and they'll tell you basics, but she's like ignorant, so she's thinking if she don't trust herself doing two coats, so she's saying, well, I'll do a third coat, because I don't know how she thinks that, you know, moisture's going to come out at wall. I think she thinks it's just going to spray out, so she's got to put a waterproof system all the way on. It don't come out like that. Again, there's no need for him to go all the way up. You only need to put that waterproof system on the few courses that are below ground level, because they've put a damp proof course above it, so you just do where your lateral damp's going to come through. Your lateral damp is not going to go through and up at an angle. They've drilled and injected, so you know, if it does start to track upwards, then they've got that DPC in anyway, so that'll stop it from any moisture from going upwards. But there's no need to do 3 coats at all.
So, I went for a third layer of the tanking slurry to really create that membrane barrier between any damp coming through. Yeah. And by the third layer, I was losing my mind a little bit. So I think you'll see pictures of me with a bottle of wine.
With a bottle of wine, yeah.
Yeah, with a bottle of wine at about 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night.
I mean, look at State at bucket. This is a bucket that, I mean, she's supposed to have knocked that out. All that's dry there, that's old stuff. So she's going to have all bits in it and that. No. I mean, this is DIY for you. This is her thinking she's going to be saving a few quid by all this time and effort. You know, she's saying it's on a night and she's taking ages mixing up and not even been taught how to mix it up properly, to do it with a brush up through Kev. Here you go, just be a old toothbrush. Chuffing hell.
Like doing just those last awkward bits of tanking, getting them done, ready for the plasterer.
Fantastic. So the next thing, obviously, once the tanking is dry, is to plaster. Now, is it the usual sort of method of plastering?
Fucking rough area around there. That's the second time cops have been. Yeah. Can you hear siren going off?
We would put a base coat, bond coat of plaster on, and then we'd put a top coat finish.
That's right. So the good thing about this is, obviously, if plaster is coming on, he's got to be plastering onto a rough surface. So the great thing about tanking slurry is it really does create a great layer for a plasterer to then come and plaster over. Made like.
Speaking as a plasterer, if you put waterproof slurry on a wall and it dries out like that, and if you put in a render on, that is a fucking nightmare to plaster to. So, you know what I mean? She's got no experience in this field at all. But any plasterer will tell you, especially if it's that thick, and I'm just looking there, that looks like plasterboard at top. Looks like that looks like plasterboard. It will just slide down wall. You'll have to put it on in little thin layers, and it'll just start sliding down wall, because there's just no suction. So she's got that wrong through not being an experienced plasterer. Hiya, DampSam here. Did you know, if you want to watch a full unedited version of this, if you become a Damp fan, $2.99, which is as much as an expensive cup of coffee up here, you can watch a full unedited version of this. Nah, let's get back watching this bit, eh? See you in a bit.
Life a lot easier, and he smoothed it out, although I have not put the skirting boards back on yet, I will say that. So we do have a nice big gap underneath. And the other thing I would
she's got a nice big gap where, what do you mean? Where skirting boards should go.
Say, which can be a bit difficult. If you're tanking an area where you've got a radiator on the wall or something that is hanging on the wall, you have to use a special type of bracket once you've done that tanking that hooks into the plasterwork and goes up, so it doesn't penetrate that layer.
No, you don't. So if you want to drill into it, there's a couple of different ways. On there, you're going to be all right because there's only 3 courses of brick that's below ground level. But if you do drill into it, get some silicone. So if you get some silicone glue, clear, when you drill your hole, pump your silicone in, and then put your plug in, and then screw your put your screw in and put your bracket on. So that's what you'd do.
Because once you've penetrated that layer of tanking you've created, it becomes like a plasticky membrane almost. If you make a hole in that,
not like a plasticky membrane.
You may as well have not bothered to tank it because damp will come in through that hole.
Yeah,
it won't. It'll not come flying through at all, and it all depends on what you're plastering on top of it. If you're a gypsum plaster, it might make it vulnerable, and that's if it is in them 3 courses that are below ground level, that are earth retaining, or where you gain lateral damp. But I'm just looking at them. Like some are they nails? Like nails or plugs or something. So what they've done here? So somebody's put some kind of slurry on here anyway. And yeah, so this is right. This bit is a wall that's been dry lined, and that looks more like render. But on this bit, there's probably had damp patches from where dots have been stuck on wall. And that looks like a solid floor, doesn't it? So yeah, so that's back. I'm tipping that's back. That's back door. So it's right hand wall as you come in property all the way down. That's got high ground level. Sorry. So I thought it was just that little bit that they were doing, but obviously not. They must be doing all. They've done all the way down then, haven't they?
Wise advice there, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised it's took her forever. If she's done all full wall from top to bottom, which she didn't really need to do.
So obviously with the tanking, it's a non-porous material, so you wouldn't have needed to have PVA'd the back of it, but you might need to PVA up any joint line with your...
Well, we don't like to PVA now. It's SBR. Do it in SBR, not PVA.
Prior plaster,
Yeah.
in order to stop the plaster drying too fast. So you've got a good scratch coat, you've put your bond on, you've then put your finishing plaster, and you've obviously enjoyed the wine whilst all of this process
More
has
for
gone.
my sanity than anything else.
And you've got a fantastic finished product here. I mean, the plaster...
Hang on a minute. Is he not rubbing it up? I'm hoping that this photo has been took before he's gone over with rub it with devil float, because I can see where he's had a straight edge on, but it looks like he's had it vertically and gone on. I'm hoping he's done skirting line as well. It'll because it'll be that wet that he'll have probably had to rub it up at a different time. You see where he's been bored out in his ears, so he's like touching it with his finger. That's what its finger marks is for, to see if it's wet enough to rub up.
Has done a really good job of feathering in and blending.
He ain't done a good job of blending that in. Although I'm tipping that it's not finished. He's got to rub it in, but that's definitely not a good job of blending in if he's got to skim over it.
The old plastic to the new.
Yeah.
Are there any tips you'd give people out there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna buy as well, if you're gonna tank or you're gonna do any damp proofing yourself, don't buy dust sheets. It's a waste of money. What you should do instead is get really thick, heavy-duty plastic bin liners.
Fucking bin liners. I told you there were bin liners, didn't I? Come get your black bin bags. On sale till September. Chuffing hell. So this is a professional property investor giving great advice to all 240,000 subscribers. So don't be buying any dust sheets. Just use fucking bin bags.
And what you want to do is, as you take them off, just unroll them part of the way, and you create essentially a big, thick plastic strip that you can just drag along the wall with you as you go. Tanking is messy. I'm planning on ripping up the carpet in the hallway anyway, so it wasn't as much of a concern for me. But if you're doing this sort of retrospectively after you've had some work done in the property...
They're not bin bags, though, are they? That's not bin bags. They've bought some TPS, which is temporary plastic sheeting, which is that's in that roll. And that is proper tarpaulin sheets that they bought as a walkway. So I don't know whether she's saying don't buy them. She's bought them, but don't buy them because that's that wall, isn't it? But buy bin bags instead.
Get those bin bags. It's definitely worth it, and you won't end up clearing up bits of plastic that's come through dust sheets.
So anything that
dust sheets nowadays, you can buy them that stuff don't come through. Decorators have twill ones, and water can go through them, but there's better dust sheets on market.
you would advise somebody on who's about to do this?
I mean, if you are doing a property on a budget, this is my first investment, and I'm also living in the house at the same time.
What did she say? A first investment. It's at the beginning of the programme, he said she was a professional property investor, and I'd got impression she'd got a portfolio, a big portfolio. But it's the first house she's bought, and she's living in it. Basically, she's bought an house, and then she's planning to do it up and then, I don't know, rent it out or something. But when she says property investor, I think you've got to use that word lightly. And again, we all have to start somewhere. But come on, let's be honest. At the beginning of the programme, she should have said, "This is my first house. I'm doing it on a budget. I've got fuck all money, so I'm going to scrimp and I'm going to do stuff wrong. I'm going to mix all stuff up as I want to do it, not how it says on bag, because I want to save money. I mix it up like paint, so that it probably won't work. But when I do put tenants in, I'm fingers crossed that damp's not going to come through, and it will work. I mean, they've put sand and cement on, and it's a small area, and they've gone above and beyond. It'll not come through. What might happen is, if they've not put adequate ventilation in property, what could happen is condensation will form up wall, because it's a cold render that they've got on. So that's what potentially could happen if it's not ventilated correctly.
So I am able to do stuff in the evenings and the weekends. If you're in that position and you want to do some of this stuff yourself, tanking and damp proofing is something you can do yourself quite easily.
Always get a specialist in, kids. Don't try and do it yourself. It's alright. You can save a bit of money, and these people that are quite handy, but make sure it's diagnosed properly. You don't get fucking Kevin, damp timber expert, who mixes fucking tanking slurry, waterproofing slurry up with a dustpan and brush, like paint. So and then tells Kate to do it like paint. But Read instructions on bag. Always read the manufacturer's instructions and always wear the correct PPE when knocking off. Old Kev didn't have his gloves on. He didn't have a dust mask on when he was knocking off. He could see it when he was mixing up. So, this damp and timber expert, Kev, fucking hell. Yeah, I think Kev's just fucking wandered up off at street and knocked on the door and said, "Oh, sort that damp out for you." Good.
Quite easily, and I saved myself about £350 by doing.
I'm not having that. She spent fucking hours and hours and hours. I don't know how much she gets per hour, but she's put 3 coats on all the way down, all the way down length of house, and it's not cheap. Waterproofing slurry is not cheap. So for time that she's spent doing all that, cleaning up and everything, she could have just paid for somebody to come and do it, and they'd have done it in no time. If it had been diagnosed properly, she'd have saved even more money, because they wouldn't have had to knock that much off, and she'd have saved even more money in room, because I reckon it was low level damp from what I've seen. So they wouldn't have had to cut that much off.
Doing that myself, which obviously is money towards the new kitchen.
Well, that's a good little tip there. But it does take a lot of time, doesn't it, Kate?
It does, yeah. I mean, I spent probably 5 or 6 hours doing all 3 layers, because you have to leave 24 hours between each layer so it's completely dry.
So that's not 24 hours. That's fucking 50. What is it? What's 3 24s? She's had to wait 3 days, 3 full days, she says, between putting coats on, because she's got to wait 24 hours. Actually, if you read instructions, you apply it when it's green. You don't let it set. So when you apply waterproofing slurry, you've got to apply it second coat when it's still green, so it'll bond to it better. Read manufacturer's instructions. You know what I mean? She's making it up. She's just making it up as then. She wants to do it, and I just hope this is not how she goes through a property investing, career, or a career whatever she does. Because if you're just making stuff up and you're not following instructions, then that's just not how to do things, is it? I mean, she seems a nice lass, but somebody needs to sit her down and say, look, if you're cooking, make sure you follow instructions. If you're going to make if you're going to make a cake, don't just fucking buy ingredients you want to put to the door and mix it how you want. Follow in instructions and ingredients, because that way you'll end up with a product like how it's supposed to be, not how you want it to be.
Dry, and you'll see on the pictures, you can tell where it's dry and where it isn't, and you will see also where the weep holes are from the injection. That's just stayed wet, and that's fine, but you need the rest to really be dry before you go and put another layer on.
Yeah, no, really wise advice. Well, thanks.
It's not wise advice. It's not wise advice at all. It's just words, basically. It's not wise advice. It's just words from somebody who just wanted to make a video showing that she's done a bit. It's just content, isn't it? It's just content.
For sharing all of that with us today, Kate. It's been a pleasure again to share with the audience some of your expert knowledge on what.
And he uses that in the most loosest term possible. Her passing on Kev's expert knowledge. I think that's what you need to say. Not expert knowledge at all.
What you're doing with your development project, and you're making effectively a HMO from a house here.
Yeah, it's going to be a mini mo.
From the ground up, as you can quite literally see in this property.
I think it's important to do at least one set of property yourself, so that you know how jobs are done. So in the future, if I get...
Yeah, it is. Definitely do a property yourself, so you can see how things are put together, but do it right. Do you know what I mean? I thought that these days, because you've got a lot of property courses that you can go on, you don't have to do things by trial and error. There's YouTube videos. There's a guy called DampSam on YouTube, and he's done loads of free videos. I know I do a lot of reaction videos now, but in my previous incarnation, when I first started, I've done hundreds. I've done 1,400 videos altogether, but a lot of them is showing you how I did damp-proofing work and how I did waterproofing work, and I showed you how we mix stuff and stuff like that. So have a look at them. They ain't just me. There's a few of them. Some's alright and some's not, and I'll have probably pointed things out. So watch some of my reaction videos, and I'll point things out that's wrong. And that's why I do them, because you gain wrong advice. You know, it's all well and good complaining that I'm sort of watching these videos and telling you what things, you know, that they're doing things wrong. And I had a guy unsubscribe, and he says, I used to watch your videos because you used to show us how to do things and how to do things right, and they were brilliant. All your videos were great, and I used to get a lot of knowledge from them. But now you've started just slagging people off on your videos. I was like, all right, well, fair enough. So I wrote him a message and I said, well, I hope you enjoyed all that free advice that I gave, you know. Free advice, you know, that I did in my own time, that we put on YouTube so people can learn from them, that he learned from. But yet, because I've done a few of these videos pointing things out that people are doing wrong, he's interpreted that you know, that he didn't like it that way. So, you know, we told him, you know, at the beginning of this video, there's an off button. Just don't watch it. Do you know what I mean? Leave it for people that do enjoy it. And if I just went through everything, you know, boring and monotone, and didn't have a laugh about it, then what would be the fucking point? Do you know what I mean? What would be the fucking point? You've got to have a laugh. You've got to have a laugh. And I've got to have a way to get this knowledge out through a tradesman's brain to you, the viewers, so that it'll sink in and you'll remember it. And me being a Neanderthal tradesman, this is the only way that I know. So shoot me. I'll just keep on doing these videos. So I'll be keeping doing these. Again, so if you don't like it, unsubscribe. We couldn't give a fuck. If you do like it, become a member. So I'm just hoping you're getting some value from it. If you get one little bit of value from it, if you go like that, well, I didn't know that. Right, so I've just found that out, right? If it's just one thing each video, then it's worth it for me. If there's just a few people can learn something, then it's definitely worth it.
Contractors out, I know the process that they're undertaking, and I also am making sure I'm not getting mugged out of money I don't need to be.
I think that she already has. I think she already has, because all that work that she's had done. One, plaster didn't need to be knocked off that eye, and I'd have done that sort of for less work, less damage. I'm not saying it'd be less money, but it'd be less work, less mess, and it'd be guaranteed as well. And she won't be coming back.
Very
Always
wise.
helpful.
Well, if you want to stay tuned to see what's happening with Kate's property, smash that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, and you will be the first to...
And that's another thing and all. I'd look at stats, and there's 83% of your fuckers out there that are watching these that are not subscribed. Imagine that. You're just watching it and you're not subscribed. There's a little button there. He's just told you. Just press it. I mean, it's not hard, is it? You get your thumb or your finger and just press it. And then press the thing for notification, that bell end for notifications. Just look at me and just think bell end. Oh, press that bell end for notifications. And then you'll see them when they come up, when new ones come up. And have a look through back catalogue. And if you don't like reaction videos, go through back catalogue and learn something. Yeah, and then you'll be able to do your own DIY if you want, or damp proofing or waterproofing.
No, when Kate's video comes up next of the next stage of her project. Until then, drop Kate some comments, whether you think she's a
I'll make a video,
whether
mate.
you think she's smart. But whatever those comments are, drop them below and give her a big thumbs up just to say you loved her great share today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'll sum up, and I've done, because I think I've overrun again, but it's probably might go into 2 parts. This, if you're going to get some, if you definitely want to do a DIY waterproofing, at least get a specialist in to diagnose your issue and make sure it's a competent, qualified person. PCA. They've got the best training for the surveyors, specific training, and you can go on their website and you can do a postcode search. They're not all brilliant. You've got some companies that's only just started. You've got some that's very experienced. Do your own diligence. So have a look. I mean, I've been sent to surveys in last week, and they're from a company near here, and they've not been they can't have been going long. I didn't even know they existed, and I got it sent through, and they asked me, what do you think about this? I read through it. It looked the business. It looked alright. It weren't a proper report. It said it were a report, but it weren't in depth. There weren't a lot of pages, but it was set out. It was set out good. But when I started reading it, they asked me what they thought. There were a plan, and there were a report. I read through it, and I said, "Yeah, fair enough." I said, "It looks well. It's set out well. There's some stuff's been nicked from my fucking." Some stuff's been copy and pasted from my report because I saw it in there, and so whoever's done that, fair enough, you can have it. And I just said, what you ought to do, you should have gone. They're definitely not in PCA. It didn't say they were in PCA. It didn't say that they'd got qualifications. I had a look on the website. And like I said, they looked all right, but you could tell wording just weren't right. They'd said everything were rising damp and all, and it just wording weren't right. So I said you need to go on PCA website, use a qualified person, and then they sent me a thing back saying they are in PCA, and I was like, what? So I had a look on, I had a search on website, and there were, which I couldn't believe, and I thought, well, there must be a young company, and they must have either just joined and are in a thingy period where one of them's taking exams, or they've just qualified and they've just started up. So I've no idea, don't know out about the company. So never heard from that guy again. So I don't know whether he would, because I said, well, we'd have to come and we'd have to do his own survey. We can't follow people's surveys. It'd have to be somebody that I really trusted for me to follow the survey, and I'd still have to do my own system. But then I got another survey from exactly the same company, and penny didn't drop until I was reading through it, and I thought, it's the same company. and wording what's same, and again, everything were saying everything were rising damp, and alarm bells rung. And I'm not saying they wouldn't have done a good job, but it was what they diagnosed that it were rising damp, and they'd said it were just, I don't know, they were saying they got what it were a waterproofing system they were putting in and belting, and it were again as if they didn't have that much experience and knowledge, but they're in PCA and they've started. Hopefully they're going to learn somewhat from when they go on courses. I don't know ins and outs, and like I said, I'd never name company. I can't do that. But I know. So when I get their things through, I know that it just ain't right. Do you know what I mean? So until they up the game, and until I see one and it's spot on, then I can't. I won't be able to price off any of their reports, any of their so-called reports. But yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to go on PCA website, do your own due diligence. So don't just get a company thinking they're going to be fucking best. Have a ring round and speak to people. Ask people who's been used by them before. So you listen, doing your due diligence about builders, any tradesman. It's hard, especially if you're in a big city and you don't know anybody. And trust it's a big thing, isn't it? It's a big thing, trust. So a lot of people contact me where they are in country, and they'll say, it's a bit far for you to go, Sam. Can you recommend anybody here? And there's certain companies that I will say, use these. If I were you, I'd use these. These are good company. If I were you, I'd use these. I'd use them. So these companies there are no people who own these companies, and I'd say use them, and I'll send it through. So there's one company down south, and they must have got a fucking £1 million out of me, and I ain't even been sent a bottle of wine. They're in southeast, and they do fucking timber and damp. So so you put your two and two together. I think what people need to do is they need to just say, DampSam's recommended you. But they must have earned a fortune off me. So anyway, I'm going to wind this up on that note. And I hope you're going to have a brilliant week. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up and the thumbs, not a thumbs down. And listen, if you don't like there's content, don't watch it. If you do like it, I'll see you at next one. Bye-bye now.